There are 4 known elements in Avatar. You got fire, you got water, you got earth, and you got air. We all know this. It's literally part of the Avatar opening in every single episode. It's basic knowledge. But what a lot of people out there don't know is that there is actually a 5th element. Yes, this is true. It's not clickbait. There are actually 5 elements. Let's talk about it. So as many of you probably know, Avatar: The Last Airbender was heavily influenced by East and South Asian cultures. For example, there's the concept of yin and yang from Taoism. The Earth Kingdom's architecture and clothing is inspired by Chinese culture, and the entire air nomad civilization is based on Nepalese and Tibetan cultures. Similarly, the idea of elements is based off of Hinduism and Buddhism. And according to the Hindu sacred books, there are 5 elements. There's fire, there's air, there's water, there's earth, and finally, there's the 5th element, which is known as space, or ether. It is known as the subtlest and purest element. It is the stuff of which gods are made, and it is the stuff of souls. Avatar: The Last Airbender represents this element through the Avatar state, the spirit world, and energy bending. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about the 5th element and bring it to your attention is because I wanted to discuss the possibility of the elements being used further, potentially leading to some cool new bending abilities. First of all, before we can even discuss the possibility of adding quote-unquote space bending to the plethora of Avatar powers, let's take a quick look at the current Avatar power system. The power system in place is fairly simple and straightforward, but also very effective. In the world of Avatar, there are benders and non-benders. The benders have the ability to manipulate one of the 4 main elements, and the non-bending fighters typically possess a particular skill, whether it be swordsmanship or chi blocking, or maybe they can throw daggers really well or something. And now, with the new technology present in The Legend of Korra, there are various other ways that non-benders can combat benders, like with big-ass machines or taser things. Now, what I love about the Avatar power system is that there are no super overpowered abilities. Everything feels kind of balanced. Obviously, there is the Avatar state, but even that has a drawback. And bloodbending used to be an ability that you could only use during a full moon. Obviously, Legend of Korra kind of changed that, and I honestly still think that was a little bit of a mistake, but even then, that is really only one outlier. For the most part, the abilities are pretty fairly balanced, and depending on the location and time of day, certain benders are stronger. These facets of the power system allow for compelling fights that don't feel too one-sided, and strategic battles. For example, Katara managed to defeat Azula despite being weaker than her at that time because she used her surroundings to her advantage. The only issue that I have with the power system is that the abilities feel slightly basic. If you're a bender, you either have fire powers, water powers, air powers, earth powers, or all types of powers. And to be fair, I think that Avatar has already done a pretty great job at expanding the bending power system by introducing various sub-bending forms and techniques, like combustion bending or lightning generation for fire benders, healing, plant bending, spirit bending, or blood bending for water benders, metal bending or lava bending for earth benders, and flight or suffocation for air benders. However, I think there's only so much that you can do with these 4 elements, and I think at some point, us viewers may want to see something new and different. Look at Combustion Man, for example. He is not a particularly complex or interesting character, but a lot of people like him simply because of his cool ability. So what if Avatar introduced space bending? We have kind of already gotten a glimpse of it with energy bending, but what if Avatar went further with that concept? Could space bending be a thing? I know it sounds pretty crazy, but I think it would be interesting. You know, maybe space benders could use teleportation, or maybe they can create barriers, or even mini black holes. Or maybe they absorb and repel attacks by manipulating the space around them. Anything like that could be really interesting. Now, I know that it's kind of ironic that I'm naming all these crazy overpowered abilities when earlier in the video I mentioned that I thought that blood bending without a full moon was a mistake due to how broken it is. But there's many ways in which space bending could be different from blood bending. First of all, I think blood bending is arguably more overpowered because you can literally control someone's body. A space bender would be completely useless against a blood bender if the blood bender is literally not allowing them to bend the space. Secondly, one issue with blood bending is that there's really no drawback that the user faces when using such an overpowered technique. If there were any, it would seem less overpowered. So, if space bending were introduced, I think there should be some kind of price for using it. Maybe space benders can only live for 20 years because using the abilities takes a toll on the body. Finally, I think seeing a fight between an avatar and a space bender would be much more entertaining than a fight between a bloodbender and an avatar. Because the issue with bloodbenders is that they're a one-trick pony. Avatars in the avatar state can easily counter their ability, and once you break out of the bloodbending hold, they are essentially just normal waterbenders. However, with space benders, even though they would most likely lose in a fight against bloodbenders, they would have multiple insanely OP tricks up their sleeve that I think could contend with avatars in the avatar state. And I know that that logic sounds pretty weird. It's just that bloodbenders have the ability to control bodies, which the avatar state can directly counter, whereas space benders, they don't have any abilities that overpowered, but they also don't have abilities that the avatar state can just immediately negate. And I think that is honestly really great, because one other issue that I personally have with avatar fights is that once the avatar enters the avatar state, it's game over for the villain. Like, the villain pretty much can't do anything. Space benders can be the one exception. They can be fighters that compete with avatars in the avatar state and subsequently add more tension to the story. So what do you guys think? Do you think that space bending would be a good or bad addition to the series? I've pretty much already touched on the pros, however there are downsides. First of all, it will be hard to just organically introduce this bending form into the series. One way to introduce it could be through the lion turtles, the same way they did with energy bending. Maybe both energy bending and space bending were ancient bending forms that existed in a time before the avatar, but space bending was thought to have gone extinct due to the 20-year limit on the user's life. However, one family of space benders managed to survive somehow, or maybe they could just introduce it through harmonic convergence, however the hell that works. Another con is that the space powers may feel too godlike, and some may think it would take away from the charm of Avatar, which is honestly something that I can agree with. But hey, at the end of the day, it's just an idea that popped into my head. Let me know what you guys think about it. Also, let me know if you want me to do a what-if story based off of this space bending concept. If you enjoy content like this and are a big Avatar fan, please leave a like and subscribe, because there's a lot of Avatar videos I have planned to release in the future. But yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.